So the Fed just took the largest increase in interest rates in the last 22 years. This is Wysocarski at Wyse Home Team Realty, and I want to talk to you about the historical data that supports the impact that it might just have on you this summer. You know, back 22 years ago, we were just ending the dot-com crisis. I think we all remember that, right? And they took a 50 basis point increase in interest rates. That's the money that the Fed charges banks that they can then lend to consumers. Now, at that time, interest rates were about 8%. And with that 50 basis point increase, you would think that the market would really be ripples of effect on consumers and their purchasing power. But a funny thing happened along the way. Over the next 12 months, interest rates actually decreased by 1%. And every year after that, they were dropping at least another 0.5%. And what we saw in the early 2000s was rates in the low sixes and all the way down in the mid fives, where consumers were getting great home loans, which really fueled a big piece of the price run-up in the early 2000s. Now, in the short term, will it affect you a little bit? Perhaps, because the banks do have the opportunity to increase the rates. Now, a competitive bank might say, even though the Fed went up 50 basis points, we might hold the line or only go up a quarter point. That's up to the banks and competition in a free market. So this is not all bad news. Now, the reason this is happening right now is to curb the inflation rates. But in our free market society, the consumer can still negotiate a solid interest rate. So it's not all bad news. So certainly, inflation, it's an issue right now, but it's being attended to by the Fed. As far as buying a house, a 0.25% difference in your interest rate probably is not a reason to not buy a home. Because let's face it, if you're renting right now, your effective interest rate is 100%. If this conversation is interesting to you and you've got more questions, I'd love to hear from you. You can message me below or send me a private message, and I'd love to go deeper with this conversation with you. This is Wysocarski at Wyse Home Team Realty.